2017 Honda Pilot. Why are we looking at the trailer receiver hole? Ooh, isn't that cool? Anyway, one of the things we looked at was someday we might get a camper. What can we tow and all this stuff. 2017 Pilot Elite can tow 5,000 pounds. Cool! So we just bought a 3,000 pound pop-up. But that said, I'm of the mindset that you buy what you don't need. In other words, more than what you need. So I got a 2-inch drop. I'm hoping this is appropriate height. If not, so be it. I'll go get another one. So this is a Reese interlock metal shield blah blah. So I'm going to shorten this up. There's a lot of these sort of pieces of metal out there that become the base for your trailer hitch. Then of course you have your ball. The different size balls apparently have different capacities. So somewhere, I forget what the exact numbers are, but you know, up through like 2,000 pounds, you can do a 1 7/8. Up to like 6,000, you can do a 2-inch ball, and then there's the 2 5/8 or some such size larger one for above 6,000 up to like 10,000 pounds. And then once you're over 10,000 pounds, you got other issues to deal with. So that's the basics, you know, for a class 3 or class 4 hitch. So that said, it talks about the mounting hole. It's a 1-inch hole. This is a 2-inch ball that has the higher capacity. They have 2-inch balls with a lower capacity with a 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch shaft, so to speak, that's threaded. This is a 1-inch shaft that's threaded. The 1-inch shaft is stronger, gets you up to 6,000 pounds. The other one up to like 3,500 maybe. And I'm like, you know what? More is better. Now the other part is, you see this is hex-sided. Not all of them are. And Reese in particular, I was looking at the different brands. You can get whatever you want, but this is stainless steel. I don't know if that's all that needed. So it was all of, you know, 30 bucks, whatever. But the hex siding I thought was fascinating because it would just fit in there. And then when you're trying to wrench on the nut with the lock washer, of which I, of course, got a real wrench for it. Yes, I have my dad's tools, but I figure for 12 bucks, I'll just get the wrench that's appropriate for it. It talks about torque, like 160 pound-feet of torque, which I'm pretty heavy. I can yank on that and do at least that. That's not an issue. So there. And then, of course, there's holes in here. You have to poke through so you can put the pin in and lock it in place. That's oil. I put a little bit of oil in the back of there. And so I also got some other fun stuff, like an extension, a hitch extension. It's a Reese, and so this drops your tow capacity, right? So suddenly you're at 4,000 gross, and we got a 3,000 pound gross trailer, so that's fine. The idea here is that your trailer would go down here, so that piece would go into this bottom spot, right? And then the upper spot can take our bike rack. And so we can tow a trailer and do a bike rack, kind of like this diagram says. Cool. We'll try it out. We'll see how it goes. Or you could put like one of those platformy things to carry more stuff. The idea, of course, is your tongue weight still matters. So generally 10 to 12 to 15% tongue weight for the gross. So 3,000 pound trailer, 300 pound tongue weight at least. So then hopefully the two bikes together with the rack won't be more than 7,500 pounds. I think that's fine. So that's a little bit on this. This piece was however much money, something like 50 bucks. Not too bad. The other part that I got was this, the locking setup. So you have your pins. I mentioned the holes in that, the ball receiver that goes into the receiver. So this is a locking pin. Then for the trailer itself, a lock to go onto the tongue of it, onto the end, which goes onto the ball, so that nobody's just going to hitch it up and take it away from you. And then this is when you have the trailer latched onto the ball, that will lock that one on. So when you're parked, hopefully it'll be a little bit longer before someone swipes that. I don't think we'll have any real problems where we're going, but hey, this was 30 bucks. Cheap insurance in my book. What's nice about this is there's one key for everything. So there's actually 2 keys included. Got to make sure to keep them both. Happy times. Yeah. So let's get started. For now, I'm just going to do this part down here, but I do need that pin. So suddenly I'm turning back here, and I do need the pin. Did I buy another pin, or did I not buy the other pin? I did buy another pin. Okay, this is good. And so, what did I have here? Oh, I got a couple things also. The camper we bought has a couple little things to epoxy, and then some silicone to seal any edges. It looks in great shape right now, but I just went for that. So I'm going to have to pop this open, I guess, to use that pin. I wasn't thinking straight. I should have gotten another pin, but that's fine. And then we'll put this all together. So the one other thing I did was, for not too much money, was like 11 bucks. I got a universal drive for taking on and off the wheels. Because goodness knows, you break down, you're going to have to get the wheel lug nuts off and all that. And these are fine because this folds out straight. You slide that up over it, and then you've got all 4 different size lug nuts for whatever car, or maybe even up to a light truck, you can do with this, and some good arm strength to rotate it. So, as mentioned, this hexagonal, it's just a little bit of an indent, little raised edges to help hold this in place. That gets in there and kind of locks in. And then, of course, you put on your lock washer underneath, and you put the nut on. Now, let's put that on, turn that on. There we go. And it's just as simple as that. That clamps in, and then that won't rotate once it's settled in its grooves. Easy peasy. And then finally, there's rules about making sure that this part sticks below the end of the nut. And this is what the finished product looks like. Notably, this is torqued down, the lock washer is squished flat, and there's some threads. The packaging will tell you how many threads you need to stick below the nut to make it legitimate, because if this is too thick, etc. Anyway, this obviously is working well. It's all made by Reese. They make it work together. And this is my locking pin. I also put some oil through the shaft and everywhere else, because we live in Massachusetts, so everything rusts. But that's good. And if I get there and the nose of the camper is way too low, I could unbolt this, flip it over, flip this over, and then have the ball further up, which would elevate it probably 2.5 inches. That's a choice also. Then finally we got our 7-pin connector that we had ordered from the factory. So anyway, that's it. That's the hitch. We'll play with this stuff another time. And happy camping.